Going on, guys? I'm Abraham, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to change the oil on a Scag Patriot. This one has a 22 horsepower Kawasaki motor. So if you have a Briggs & Stratton or a Kohler motor on your Scag, a lot of the things I'm going to be doing are going to be similar, but not exactly the same. For example, the oil drain valve could be different on a Briggs & Stratton or Kohler motor rather than a Kawasaki, but I'm just going to be showing you guys the standard procedure for the oil change on a Kawasaki on a Scag Patriot. Now, if you have a other zero turn that has one of these Kawasaki motors on, a lot of things that I'm going to be showing you are also going to be adaptable, but pretty much the same. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Alright, so first things first, first thing you're going to want to do is start your engine and let it warm up. I'd say let it run for about 5 minutes at idle speed, and just let all the oil warm up in it. So we're going to go ahead and start our mower here. And like I said, we'll just let it idle there for about 5 minutes. Alright, so I just cut my engine off. Now the motor is warm, all the oil in there is warm. Any dirt that's inside the oil is actually elevated now, so when you drain it, all that dirt and grime is going to just run out. So I gathered a couple of tools here. You can either use, depending on how much room you have, you can either use a flathead screwdriver, or I'm using a 10mm for the drain valve. I got my oil and filter. I'm using AMSOIL 10W40. This is the small engine oil. This is commercial grade. It's great for what I'm doing. It's full synthetic. Any Kawasaki motor is going to be taking this 10W40. If you have a Briggs & Stratton or a Kohler motor, you're going to be running a 10W30 instead of a 10W40. I also got my Kawasaki oil filter. Part number for this is 49065-0736. This is pretty much the standard Kawasaki filter. A lot of the Kawasaki motors are going to take the same filter. I have a clean funnel, a rag, and I also have my oil drain pan here. So we're going to go ahead and place this underneath the oil drain valve, and I'll show you guys that here in a sec. All right, here we go. So this guy, I'm going to try and get in there with my wrench. That guy right there, that's our oil drain valve. I don't have enough room to get a flathead in there. So I'm going, if you can see this end piece right here, that fits a 10mm. So I'm just going to be putting my 10mm on there and ratcheting that. And then that actually right there at that point is our nozzle where the oil will be coming out of. So if you see here, I just have my my pan just placed right underneath it there, so that when the oil comes out, it'll catch it. So I'm gonna get in there with my ratchet here. I'm just gonna, oh, that's not good. We don't want that to happen. All right, complications here. Instead of turning this whole thing, I'm gonna have to tighten that down. I am going to have to use my other hand to hold that while I loosen it. So I'm gonna sit you guys down for 1 second here. All right, so I just got that cracked loose. I had to hold it with my other hand while I was loosening it. So as I loosen it, I think I'm at the point where I should be able to just twist it with my fingers. And you can see the oil is starting to run out. You don't want to loosen it all the way, just most of the way. So you don't want that to pop out because then you're going to have oil running out that point. So you just want to loosen it most of the way, but not all the way. And then you can see we have our oil draining very slowly there. So what I'm going to do is actually open this cap while it's draining, and that is going to allow the oil to run a lot faster, as you can see. So we're just going to leave that cap popped open, and we're just going to let all that oil drain out. It's pretty dark, but it's not terrible. I do this commercially, so I usually go 75 to 100 hours in between oil changes. And for these mowers, I think 100 hours is the recommended oil change interval, and I only use full synthetic in this thing, so I'd say I'm probably okay to go 100 hours between the oil changes. All right, so hopefully you guys can see okay, but this is our oil filter right here, and while that oil is draining, we are just going to go ahead and loosen that up. If you have a small enough pan, there is a lip underneath this oil filter. You can sit the pan under there and it will actually catch your oil. I don't know if I have one. I'll go ahead and check and see if I can find something that'll work. But if not, it's okay if you just let the oil run over there. Eventually it'll dry up, and also I like to take rags and just you know, clean it up as best I can if you spill some oil on there. But if you spill a little bit of oil on there, it's okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. Okay, so fortunately I was able to find a dish that is small enough to fit into there and catch the oil. This is actually an old dish for like a pound of screws. So I'm just gonna go ahead and slide that underneath here like this. Hopefully this fits. It's not very flexible. Looks like I might have to screw my little drain valve back in to get this to fit in there. If you have something that's a little more flexible, you'll be in better shape than me. So just screwed my oil drain valve back in. I'll be right back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a razor and shave the top ½ inch of that off, and hopefully we'll be able to get it to fit then. All right, so I cut an edge of that off. Hopefully it'll fit now. Just slide that in there. And money, there we are. All right, so now it's sitting there right under that little ledge. We'll get you guys in for a closer look. Hopefully you can see that. You see how there's that little ledge in there that the oil will run off of right into our little pan there. So that's where we want it, just like that. Typically, I'm able to screw these off by hand. Let me see about this one. It's a little bit tricky of a spot. All right, that clearly wasn't working, so I'm back with an oil filter wrench. We're going to use this guy. Loosened up there with our oil filter wrench. Pretty difficult, tighter on there than I thought it was. Now we're just going to screw it the rest of the way off by hand. I just want to be cautious because the oil will be hot since you're running your motor, and this oil filter might be hot as well. So, got that. Gonna drain that into our pan there. Unfortunately on the Scag Patriot, they don't give it a whole lot of room to work in here because of this canister. So if you really want to, you can remove this canister. It's not very hard, but if you're like me and you don't feel like doing things like that, you typically can just work around things. So there's our old oil filter. We're just gonna go ahead and take our little thingy out here, trying not to spill too much oil out of it, but it may spill a little. It's unfortunate. Oh look, draining down the hole. Did spill a little of that on there, which is okay. But luckily, we did not spill all of it. So that's oil. I'm just going to go ahead and dump that in our oil pan over here. Oh wait, nope, oil pan's still underneath. Okay, dump that in there like that. And we can set our oil filter in there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is clean everything up under there with a rag, and then I'm going to tighten down my oil drain valve the rest of the way. All right, so I got our oil drain valve tightened down there, and next thing I'm going to do is just clean around the surface of the oil filter where our new oil filter is going to go on. Clean any dirt and old oil away from that. Right. There we go, we got our surface pretty cleaned up there. And now we're going to prep our new oil filter. This guy here. Take him out of the box. I'm going to take a little bit of this old oil. Make sure the oil that you're using is clean. You don't want any dirt or debris to get on that outer rim there. And we're just going to coat that seal right there. Doesn't need to be a lot, just enough. We're going to take our new oil filter and put it down through here. Just over and turn up. Hopefully you guys can see past my head here, but just gonna carefully screw that on there, and after you get it started, just spin it with your hands, and so it gets snug up on there. And then what you're gonna want to do is just tighten it down with your hands. You never use your oil filter to tighten it down. You just get that thing on there pretty snug, just like that. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just want to make sure it's tight enough so that way it doesn't leak. Now we're going to add our fresh oil. Like I said, we got the Amsoil 10W40 full synthetic. Just going to go ahead and carefully pour that in there so we don't spill any. There's our first quart, and then we're going to do the second quart. All right, so now I poured our oil in there, and now we're just going to check our oil level. On any Kawasaki motor, the directions are pretty much right on here. You actually don't thread your cap on. All you do is you just stick it down just like that. You press it on, and then you pull it up. And right now it's showing a little above the full mark. So after we run our engine and the oil gets throughout the engine and in all the crevices and things it needs to be and fills the oil filter, we should be at the correct mark. So let me just go ahead and show you guys how to do that. Typically what I do, I pull out my spark plug boots right here on either side. So that way the engine doesn't actually start. And we just keep it on low RPMs and we crank it until, I don't know, maybe for 5 seconds or so, until the oil gets into the oil filter. So I just kind of guesstimate it and say 5 seconds. So let's just go ahead and do that. All right, so now we'll plug our spark plugs back in, or our spark plug boots rather. And now we'll just start it on low RPMs. All right, and that should be plenty to get our new oil throughout the motor. So now I'm just going to screw that cap off. Want the oil off the stick here. Then we can go ahead and double check where our oil level is at. And look at that, we are right perfect on the full mark. We're just going to go ahead and pop that in, screw it on, clean up our tools, clean up our hands, and that's that. That's the oil change. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. For more videos like this, just subscribe to my channel, follow me, and yeah, so that's how you change the oil on a Scag Patriot. Like I said before, on most zero turns, this is going to be pretty much a standard procedure. Most of the things that I showed you guys are going to be the same. The only thing that will really be different is the drain cock. You know, the method for releasing that and draining your oil will probably be a little different. You know, especially if it's a Kohler or a British Strat motor rather than a Kawasaki. But that's pretty much a standard procedure. So we are all done, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video.